Okay, another brief one here on mankind's origins and why something was lost and why we can't remember it, why things have changed so rapidly, and why there seems to be some large gap that it doesn't seem to blend in real well. This picture right here is kind of telltale. This is a picture of North Carolina, and these are comet or meteor strikes that happened some 10,500 years ago-ish, somewhere between 9,000 BC and 10,500 BC. They're very telltale, and one odd thing about them that I want to note to you is you see their oblong shape, and so you can kind of tell that they had run along at this angle here, and you can tell because of their distinct hard angle, they were coming at a very hard angle hitting the ground, or it wouldn't have this effect, right? And also, I don't know if you can really make it out on the video here, but this ring here has this other strike that's a little smaller inside of it. Same with this one. Same with this bigger ring here with this smaller one inside of it. So it's a multiple strike, multi-projectile strike. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You know, there's a bunch of pieces just in this. Now, this is one aerial photograph here, but there are hundreds of these pieces, hundreds of these dish shapes that are like this, covering all of South and North Carolina, all the way up into the Appalachians, and then another large cluster that's scattered over central North America and into Canada, and probably some that struck the Continental Ice Shelf, but because it was so thick, it just vaporized it. And this is what probably caused the giant and quick flood. And also some of these projectiles hit out in the ocean, and if they hit out in the ocean, they're going to cause a tidal wave that would siltify this real well and cover it back up and make it look a little smoothed off like it looks, and make them to be very, very shallow craters, but distinct craters. But out in the water would cause a giant tsunami that would reverberate back into Europe and areas and through the Mediterranean and cause perhaps one of the stories of the great floods that had happened in antiquity. That in the Atlantis story, they said it happened many times. In Solon's account that he gives, he said that it had happened many times, but they only remember the one. And that's because they were the ones that lost their history when it happened. And that the Egyptian was telling him so, because they had made it through it. And so they knew of it, and they knew of the previous ones, and how it accounted on a cycle that they could detect that had something to do with the planet's precession. If you read through it, it talks about the backward recession of the planets and how that it had to do with a story that lied up on things that happened on Earth too. But we're not doing that one today. I did one of those just real recently. But notice one thing special here is that the craters are all extremely oblong, egg-shaped, and worse. And that's because they struck at such a hard angle. The ball of ice or a projectile that was landing or exploding as it was attempting to land or coming close to it was actually at a hard angle, real low to the ground, like you're going to skip a rock, off the ground or off the water. And so you could tell that a large amount of destruction would happen to North America. Let's look at another example of this. Maybe not so well defined, but surely you can see the giant one that's actually in the bay, in the water, that drives a hole that goes down 120 feet at its deepest little point over here and over here. But is generally a little bit more shallow than that. But there's another circle here that I'm in the center of, another here, another here, another here, and this is a giant lake or river basin that runs in. And so this is a huge strikes on the ground, bigger than the ones we were looking at before. much, much larger. Here's one of the larger ones from Carolina Bay. And if you'll look, there's a smaller one here and a large, huge one here. It's all into the ground and it's caused a giant depression. It also is at that same angle, has that same uplift at one side. A lot of people were unaware of this. Most Americans aren't. There's some that cause these giant Great Lakes here to form, which aren't Great Lakes like the Great Lakes, but they're giant ponds they formed. And you can see this is a smaller one inside of a bigger one. A smaller one driving even deeper that became a pond. This did not, but amazing how huge these are. And they lead all the way through the upper part of North America and into Canada, which is where this is. All over the Atlantic coastal plain. And these strikes show all through here. And the clusters we were just looking at were here and some up here. And then there's a few that were right up in here and some out of reach of where we're looking right now. So was a giant cometary strike like this the thing that had taken out the last of what we know as the recent dinosaurs, not the T-Rexes, but the mammoths and all those guys, and ended the last ice age prematurely, caused the Younger Dryas event? It seems to predate this or hit the date about the same time. I don't know if you notice in this shot here, but the background here is the craters all over North Carolina. And if it shows up well there, you should be able to see that there are literally 100 in this shot. They go all behind them. There's one here and here and here and here, and just lots of little ones all over. And this is all over the Carolinas. Something that you can see from a space picture or a satellite photograph now fairly easy, especially the topographic ones that they have and the LiDAR versions of things. They can really get in depth into it. And again, I believe that this is what wiped off the face of the planet the Atlanteans that we heard about, that supposedly the Greeks and Romans and Northern European guys were the remnants of, that Solon had talked about to the Greeks, the Egyptian priest had talked about, and that they had predated them by 1,000 years, and that they had the same primordial goddess who they knew of as Athena, but they took to be their goddess Neith, or perhaps even Isis. And so like, share, and subscribe. But crazy things that you can find that you never knew really existed, and other primordial ideas. And I've got a vid I've made out of this one here too, where this is Bahamut and Tiamat striking Ki, the primordial earth, way before any life ever formed on earth, that actually caused or imparted earth life itself. And this little chunk right here is going to become our moon that we stole from him. The rest of this junk goes back onto the planet, and this baby moon here got sucked up a long time ago. Or is this the one that's secretly following that moon and us all along? We never see it because it's out about 6 times the distance. Anyhow, like, share, and subscribe. I'll have another video out on that here soon. I appreciate y'all. Have a great day.